This is Corrections Unlocked. What's up, guys? I'm Alex Duran. Welcome to Corrections Unlocked. Our mission is to share knowledge, to educate officers, and to inspire growth through our experiences working behind the walls. On today's episode, we have a very special guest in studio. Not only does he have experience working as a correctional officer, but he gets to share his experience as a correctional counselor at a maximum security prison. We have Raymond Martinez, everyone. Raymond, welcome to Corrections Unlocked.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
So you've been working for the Department of Corrections for 17 years. You worked your way up from a correctional officer to a correctional counselor, now doing work as a Correctional Counselor Specialist. You have a lot of experience, a lot of time in. So we just want to start from the beginning. So what was your first day like working the line as a correctional officer?
My first day, I was nervous, to tell you the truth. I was nervous, fear that never felt before. I believe it was third watch. My first day, I believe I went into a control booth. That was my post for the day. So there I am, all happy, all clean, boots shined, looking sharp, going into that booth, and I knock on the door. Hey, I'm your relief. The door becomes open, and I go up there, and I was there early. I was there 20, 25 minutes early. It's the first day, and I believe it was a male officer. I obviously can't recall his name because it's been so long. But first thing he did, this is what he did. He's like, hey, I'm so and so, and okay, cool. We got day room out and yard out, and next thing I know, he shows me the control panel, and he's like, this is what you need to know right here. He's like, you see this button right here? I'm like, yes. Okay. Open. Yeah. You see this button right here? Yeah. Close. Okay, cool. When I tell you to press them, you press them. Okay. All right. Cool. Next thing I know, he gets his bag, he gets his jacket, whatever he had going on, and starts walking down the stairs, and he's all right, press it. So I pressed it, and there he is going through the door, and then the second door. All right, press it, close it, and then press it again. I'm like, cool. Then he's gone.
That was you getting him out.
Yeah, that was my orientation for my first day. I still remember to this day that's what he did. Again, I'm not going to tell you his name. I don't remember his name, but that was my first day on the facility, on the control booth. 25 minutes early, and that was my orientation.
So nothing really shown to you, and you did your part trying to be early, and you probably got a day room full of inmates, I'm assuming.
Correct.
What did you do? Like, did you try to talk to your floor staff and just?
I just went to my lowest training that we had on the academy. I mean, this is what you do, and this is what you're gonna be around.
Yeah.
You have to basically, class, what's the next step? What would I do? You think, okay, you know what? There's a logbook here. Let's look at the logbook. Okay, you know what? At this 2 o'clock they did this. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Okay, let me get familiar with this. Obviously, you have to do your basic stuff. Check your inventory, make sure everything's there. Once your floor staff arrive, give them equipment, and so on and so on. I talk to those officers once they get their equipment. Got their chits, equipment change, and you ask them if they're regulars. Ask them, hey, what do you do? What's next?
What's the program today?
The inmates are out. They're coming in. They're coming out. They're yelling shower. They're open cell 101, 102, 103, and so on and so on. So you have all this anxiety going on at the same time that comes with the job on your first day.
Yeah, and I think people, like newer officers, they feel like they have it hard because of situations like this. But honestly, this is just kind of how prison is. It's a lot of tough love. It's a lot of learn on the go and adapt and overcome. There's nothing really different between doing it now and then doing it then. You're doing the same thing. But I think that's just that was the expectation back then. You knew you really had nothing coming and you were going to learn one way or another. You don't really take stuff personal, But man, so how long did you work the line for as an officer?
As an officer, 2007 to 2014 to 2015.
Man, so good amount of experience working the line. How was it that you found like your flow of becoming a correctional officer? Because I know you probably saw a lot of good, you probably saw a lot of bad, and then trying to like mold yourself into how you want to be. How did you do that?
How did I do that? That's a good question. It's a toolbox. You know, you go in the department either with an empty toolbox, a half full toolbox, or a full toolbox. Mine was okay, but that toolbox is getting full. That toolbox I learned a little bit from everybody.
That's good.
You know, the good or the bad, mentors, supervisors, you know, managers, different experiences, different scenarios, different incidents. You learn the good and you keep the good in your toolbox. The bad, you take it in, you learn it, but you throw it in the trash bin. You don't want that. You just learn it. You just keep it there, though. You learn from it.
I like that. You know what you need and you throw away what you don't need.
Exactly.
That's a smart way to put it, man. You probably saw a lot of incidents because I know you worked at a maximum security prison. So what were some of the craziest things you've seen there that you still remember, you know, because we all have incidents that we don't really forget, you know?
The incidents, the one that comes to mind, it's an incident, my first incident, that we had to remove somebody that passed away from the cell.
Oof.
Yeah. It was, I'm not going to get too much in detail or say names, but yeah, it was one of those days that normal day.
Right.
You know, putting out yard, bringing in yard, feeding the inmate population, you know, regular program. Next thing we know, partner comes in and says, hey, we got this going on. Alarms go off. We you know, suit up our PPEs and do an emergency cell entry. And it was pretty gnarly.
That's got to be hard to, you know, to stay professional, see what you're seeing, do everything you need to do, and just be textbook about it. I feel like a lot of things we go through, we don't really deal with until after the fact. When you're alone, when you're at home, when you're driving, and you're like, damn, what just happened? You know, how do you cope with stuff like that? You know, because everyone does it differently.
How do I cope? Well, those of you people that know me, you know, they know I like music. I like it loud.
Yeah. Okay.
I like it loud. I have a nice drive home, you know, with depending on the day, depending on what's just happened or occurred, you know, that's my mood for the type of music, but that music's gonna be loud.
That's good.
That's how I decompress on my drive home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time I get home, I'm cool. Let's start a second job. I call that second job.
Right.
Is our home, our family.
Yeah.
You have your main job at work, and you have your second job to do your things.
Right.
The next.
Because some of us, you know, you still got to be a dad. You still got to be,
exactly,
you know, a husband, a partner, whatever it is. You still got to make sure you're taking care of your own. You know,
mm-hmm.
That's kind of a hard balance sometimes.
Yes, it is. But that's one of the things I use to cope. It's music.
So you worked as a correctional officer for a while. What made you want to transition to becoming a counselor?
I looked at other counselors that I looked at as mentors. We met throughout the years, and you know what? That's one thing I should have done. What I do want to say this: I should have done it sooner. I should have done it earlier in my career. But there are other things that I did. You know, be an officer. Then you know, I'll get back to your question. But
No, you're good.
As an officer, then in 2014, 2015, I went to a specialized unit.
Okay.
You know, I was a security threat group investigator, assistant security threat investigator at the investigative services unit. You know, that was a really great experience that I had, having the opportunity to do a job like that.
See a whole other side of that kind of work right there.
Oh,
huh?
yeah. That's, again, corrections is a big entry level for whatever you want to do in your career. You know, obviously the correctional officer is the start of it, and then it just goes from there. It just depends on the individual, what you want to do.
Right.
But getting back to your question, you know, that right there helped me, obviously with the mentors and I decided, you know what, I think I'm good as an officer. It's time to do something else. And it reminded me of those mentors that I had say, you know what, go into classification, go into correction as a correctional counselor, and see that view, do that,
Right.
learn, and I believe 100% upper mobility. So once opportunity came, I submitted my documents and interviewed and became a correctional counselor.
That's awesome, man. I didn't know you had experience working with the ISU. So, officer, then you do the investigation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of experience. And then going into the counseling side, you probably saw all aspects of it. So, what exactly does a counselor do? Because a lot of people ask me, like, hey, Alex, what's the difference between a CC1 and CC2? Like, what is their job? Like, we see them. They go to their office and we know they're working on casework and caseloads, but what exactly, like, especially being brand new as a counselor, like, was that transition hard for you? And what were the things that you had to, like, figure out on your own?
You know what? Corrections has a lot of missions that we and the people from the outside don't know. But once you work in there, you're starting understanding, okay, this and this and this, they're doing this because of this and this. As a correctional counselor, you start seeing the whole different mission that CDCR has to offer to the inmate population.
Right.
There were. Let's go back. Let's go back as a. How do I get to a correctional officer?
Right.
You have to do out of class.
Mm-hmm.
Out of class is meaning you're still an officer,
Right.
but you're not yet a full-time counselor. You have to understand that what you're getting yourself into,
Right.
what the mission is as a correctional counselor. What you have to, obviously, you have to read a lot. You have to read all, obviously, the DOM, doc classification, the DOM, and Title 15 classification is part of it. But it takes you, that out of class will help you understand what we do.
Right.
And every day by day. You have to understand what you're reading and interpret that, what you're reading, and put it on paper, put it in a recommendation for our committee members.
What I like about how you said the out of class is like, because I did out of class time too. To me, out of class is kind of like tryouts. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to go play a sport and they're going to have tryouts, I'm going to go try out to see if it's something I want to do, if I'm interested in actually doing it. And people, like, a lot of people frown upon out of class. They're like, oh, that's stupid, or you're not real. I'm like, well, first of all, they do pay you extra to be out of class. So, money's always good. And second of all, you said it, like, you're learning what you're going to be doing. If it's for you or not, you're going to figure it out right then and there. And another benefit too is if you're out of class, you're learning your role. So when you get picked up, you kind of have you're already doing it. So you can kind of figure out your flow a lot easier compared to somebody that just went from an officer to a counselor because they interviewed well. They're going to be kind of deer in the headlights when somebody like with 3-4 months out of class, they're just picking up where they left off yesterday. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. Out of class, I had a CC3 once told me that, remember, when you're doing out of class, and that's when it just started going into classification, or just the beginning of it. When you're doing out of class, that's everybody's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's seeing what your work ethics is, what your recommendations are in committee, your vocal skills are, your interviewing skills are. Your out of class is your interview, they said. This is what he said. Your out of class is your interview because everybody's watching.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. I never looked at it that way.
That could be as a counselor, as a sergeant, as a lieutenant, as a captain. It all flows. It's your out of class is your interview because everybody's watching.
You're right. I remember I did out of class time at like 2 incidents in one day, and I'm just going from a sergeant, and I'm like, wow, shit just got real.
Hmm.
And that's kind of where it's like, well, sink or swim, and it's all how you want to deal with it. We all learn differently, or some are slower, some are faster. At the end of the day, we're all doing the same damn job. But I like that. I think being out of class is very beneficial. How long did you do out of class time for?
Out of class, let me see. I believe it was almost, I want to say, I don't have exact dates, but I want to say it was either 10 or 12 months.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, out of class.
So by the time you rolled over, I mean, you probably felt way more comfortable, no? Going
Yes,
into
yes,
CC1.
I was placed in different areas. That's the thing. Let's go back to that out of class.
Yeah.
I was the first job out of class as a correctional counselor. I was placed in level 4 SNY yard.
Ooh.
Excuse me. It was a level 4 C yard. What was that time? 2000. That wasn't level 4. Yeah, it was level
Yeah,
4.
level 4 SOI. Because then they flipped, right?
Yeah, and then they flipped. I believe yeah, because now it's level 4 JP, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was placed on that yard, and again, not knowing the unknown, you go in there and you ask the correct questions to the correct people,
Right. Okay.
and you will do very good. Again, from there, let me see. I was there for like a month. Then there was some movement with some counselors, so I was displaced, and I went to ASU. I was max custody counselor with her out of class. Again, 30 days in, and then placed in the max custody I went to a basic annual to a max custody classification view of it. So it's a whole different.
Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit? Like, because there's a lot of officers that ask, like, what is the annual? Like, what is the counselor's role for an annual? And then what's the difference between, like, being a counselor on 3A compared to, like, ASU?
Or annual review, you review all case factors that our inmates have, or the certain case that you have. Review everything that he's done in the past year. If he received any RVRs, rules violation reports, you have to address that. If he's received any, let me see, any 128s, any consular chronicles, how's he doing on his work? How's he doing in education? How's he doing? You review his medical.
It's like a whole overview.
You're reviewing everything. You review all case factors, and then you put all that together and make a recommendation for committee. It's either going to be, hey, he reduced custody if he's in close custody for whatever reason. If he has an right coming with the administrator determine it from level 4 to level 3 because he's been a good boy. If he has points, he's on level 3 and now he received several RVRs throughout the year, his points will go up. So now you have to recommend transfer to a level 4 due to his rules violation reports that he received.
That sounds like it can be pretty scary in a sense, because you're kind of like working with this guy's life in a way.
I agree. Yes. You do, but you talk to an inmate.
Right.
Hey, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want in the future? What do you want to do work on? And yes, we are recommending transfers away from what they're used to, comfortable way of living inside a institution.
Right.
But if they are not being good to themselves or anybody else, we need to put a higher level of security.
Right.
But the way the department's going to, lowest level possible.
Right.
So, it would help get violence down and give this inmate opportunity to rehabilitate himself and be able to parole.
Right. Yeah, give them a chance and give them more opportunity. And if it works for them, good. And if it doesn't, well, I mean, that's why we're in a prison, We're there to provide safety and security, so we'll fix it and we'll put him where he needs to go. Man, so 10, 12 months out of class. When you go to max custody, that's a little bit more different, or more challenging?
It's still advanced classification. It's a different view. You not only are you doing annuals like I spoke earlier, but you're looking at reason why this inmate is in max custody. Well, you got to remember, our ASU max custody. It's called RU, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a prison inside a prison.
Right.
Because the inmate got in trouble doing either things they're not supposed to be doing. Can we talk about certain crimes that we see inside the prisons?
Yeah.
Distribution of controlled substance. Battery on inmate with a weapon. It could be IEX, exhibitionist. It could be murder, attempted murder. It could be possession of a weapon. Several crimes that are committed inside the prison, so they go to mass custody. And now you're seeing case why this inmate got in trouble. So you read the rules violation report, and now you have to either recommend for committee to be released, transfer, or a shoot term. Mm. However, there's always a process. There's a process, RBR being heard before you can do anything. Most likely you recommend a ASU extension to all those documents and are finalized and move forward with it. Okay. So for max custody, most likely a recommendation is going to be for a level 4 180, right, which is more restricted movement, and most likely he'll be in close custody, which is more restricted. You can't go certain places. You have to be indoors certain times, and you have to be counted several times throughout the day. So yes, it's
you
a
did
whole.
That for a while too.
Yes, mm-hmm.
When you work as a counselor, like in a max, like a ADSEC setting like that, or restricted housing unit, what it's called now, is it just you working up certain amount of inmates, and then you kind of have your own area and you're doing your own thing, or do you have partners, or?
Just depending on where you are at, mm-hmm. But here locally, it's just your supervisor. Mm-hmm. You might have a partner. It could be a CC1 or your CC2 specialist, right? Then it's CC2 supervisor, and then the captain, right? But that's your classification depending on what facility you're in.
That's the whole board, huh, right there, mm-hmm. Man. And then, so you did all your 10, 12 months. Did you work anywhere else out of class as a counselor?
That was max custody. Then from max custody, I went into our what was it called? It was our minimum. No, it was our level 1. But at that time, it was called, what was it called?
MSF?
It was MS Pipeline. There you go. Pipeline, MSF. Thank you. MSF Pipeline. I was there with, when our level 1s on 4B.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. I did that a little out of class.
So you pretty much got to experience all the types of levels out of class levels. Before you even became like a full-time counselor.
Permanent, yes.
That's awesome.
Went from level 4 to max custody to a level 1. So I had to learn, when it's a short amount of time, I had to learn all the missions that our prison offers.
And what do you think, like, if you're out of class, and they're giving you an opportunity to do that, like, you feel like you're pretty much have to prove yourself in a sense, or?
You have to study a lot.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you have to prove you want the job, mm-hmm. but you have to do a lot of reading, a lot of testing yourself on what you can do and not do. Mm-hmm. But it all comes to what you've learned, and you have to move forward with it and go from there.
Yeah. So, what advice could you give, like, officers that want to be a counselor?
Do it.
Just do it, huh?
Don't wait.
A lot of people always told me, like, oh, you don't have enough time to promote. And I was like, well, 3 years, 6 years, 10 years, no matter when you start, you still got to learn something completely new. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I like that. I think that's good advice.
There's a whole generation with the new officers. They're more open, and I like that. Yeah. They see me and they come up to me and they ask the right questions.
That's good. Yeah.
And And I give them what they need. Hey, you got to read Title 15. You got to read DOM. You got to do a lot of class. You got to do all those little things. You got to read Title 15 at home. You got to study. It's not going to be given to you. It's not who you know. It's not, no, those days are over. It's, you have to prove yourself.
Right. You have to put in the work.
Put in the work.
Kind of prove that you need to be there. You should be there.
You got to earn it. You got to earn it. But it all starts with reading. You have to read a lot.
And once you kind of like learn the policy and the roles of a counselor, I'm pretty sure you just like excel in that in a sense, huh? Because it's the same stuff. I'm assuming
it does get repetitive, but you just move around, learn something new. Don't get stuck doing whatever you're doing for the rest of your career.
Right.
Learn. The department is big and it's growing. If you don't like being an officer, become a counselor. If you don't like an officer or a counselor, become a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, move up.
Right.
I believe 100% upper mobility. And the department offers that, and take advantage of it.
Yeah, CDCR is huge when it comes to positions and growth. And, being a correctional officer is great, don't get me wrong, and the pay's gone way up too. What do you think the benefits are being a counselor? I see a lot,
There is their benefits, obviously, from an officer to a counselor. Obviously, the main one that everybody wants is you get weekends, holidays off. So what does that tell you as a new officer? Mm-hmm. You become a counselor, and hey, that means more time with your family.
That's huge right there. Right there, that alone to me is like, I'm 100% sold because, you can see any new officer working, whether they work at our prison or they're in the detention facilities. In general, corrections as a whole is horrible and really struggling with holdovers and not being able to staff the prison for a day. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of officers, seasoned and new, getting held 2-3 times every other week. Mm-hmm. So weekends and holidays right there, man.
Yeah, weekends and holidays are everybody wants that. But again, it doesn't come like that unless you're, in a management position as an officer. But guaranteed in either a specialized unit, you're going to have part of the weekend or the weekend off. Mm-hmm. Like classification, you're going to have weekends, holidays off, and that's for sure. That means you could plan the weekend for 6 months from now. You could plan the holidays. It's all going to be there. That's a benefit. But again, it comes with the price. You have to learn the job.
Right.
You have to do a lot of class. You have to interview. You have to apply an interview and prove yourself to the interview panel that you can do it, regardless if it's here locally or another institution.
Yeah, and I noticed they always fly for like out of class at other prisons. What do you think about that?
Do it.
Huh?
Wherever you're at, do it. Because if you're not doing it, somebody else will.
100%. And I feel like if there's an opportunity in front of you, you're just going to think about why didn't I do it when you could have. Mm-hmm. What else? What other benefits? I know there's a lot, man.
Besides having weekends and holidays off, everybody knows. Once you move up, you promote or you do other things. Upper mobility is the pay. The pay is great.
Right.
You can't argue that. The pay is great. You have a job to do, and they're going to pay you for it.
Did you guys get a raise recently too?
Yes, we did. As just an officers, we're under a union. We're still under a union, and the officers get a raise. We get a raise.
I was just looking at the new pay scale for a CDCR correctional officer, and I want to say now the correctional officer will get $8,675 a month. That's a lot of money. If you think about it.
A lot of money.
And that's good. And I know counselors, you guys are making a couple thousand more topped out, and you have weekends and holidays off. But I also noticed, you guys can almost work different hours in a sense. And do you have the ability to make those? Or?
Yes, we do. It's basically up to you. As long as you can do your 8 hours and 5 days a week or 4 days a week, we could work 6 to 2. You could work 7 to 3, or 8 to 4. You could, as long as your supervisor is okay with it, you can even do 10s, so work 4 10s and have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. And as long as you work your 40 hours a week, you're good.
Man. Hurts hearing that, because I just got held. And I get held all the time, and I always think about why didn't I go this route, because there's so many benefits to that.
Well, that's a good point right there. Another benefit right there is we don't get held.
Yeah.
We don't get held. We don't have to worry about or stress out they're going to hold me over for this and I have this going on at home. No, we do our 8 hours and we're gone.
That's awesome, dude. And I want to say more than half of the department, when they go to work, they're thinking about, am I going to get held today?
I agree.
And that stress right there alone sucks. It sucks, and it eats you up and it drains you. So to be able to come in, your 8 to 4 or whatever your hours are, knowing you're going home, that's an awesome feeling. I think I felt like that a few times, whether I was block training or whatever, out doing some training in Sacramento. But to be able to do that every day, man, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. Again, I wear, some BDUs and a shirt.
Yeah, you're pretty much like business casual.
Business casual and something that's, authorized by the department.
Right.
Not disrespecting, logos and nothing like that.
Right.
You go casual, you go dressed to impress, you go however you want.
Right. I always feel like taking care of yourself, looking good is part of the job. I mean, you're a peace officer. And then the fact that you get to dress down and kind of wear your own like BDUs or however you want to dress, I take pride in that. I think that's awesome.
If you're an officer, counselor, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and whoever, everybody's watching you.
Yeah.
You're working for a department that's huge, and now let's bring up the cameras. You're in camera.
Right.
Not only do you want to look sharp out of camera, but it could be a possibility you're going to be in camera and that's going to go to court.
Right.
So they're going to look at you like, if you're all wrinkly and shoes all, boots all dirty and all that, your hair's not been done in a while, your hat's missing, it's wrinkly or been pushed outside, through the dirt. You might want to look into that. You want to look good for the department. You want to look good for yourself. Everybody's watching.
And you represent the department. You represent
exactly
yourself.
My point.
And that's a big deal. I mean,
they pay us enough.
Right. Exactly. They do. They do pay us enough. You guys get paid well. I get paid well. I take pride in trying to take care of myself and represent myself as best I can. And, knowing that you guys, you carry yourself very well.
Well,
I like
you.
that.
Appreciate it.
The way you hold yourself. A lot of people look up to you. A lot of people always ask questions to me regarding the counseling stuff, and I'm like, dude, talk to Raymond. I mean,
I appreciate that.
He's worked his way up all the way. Omar talks highly of you. And, to see you with 16, 17 years in the department, still carrying yourself to the T. I don't have that much time in, so I look up to people like you because it's like, look at this guy with 17 years in the department. He's now like, worked his way all the way up. He's been an officer. He's been a CC1. He's doing CC2 time. And you're still coming to work clean cut every day, man. How do you do that,
That's how I grew up. That's what I saw growing up. That's keep yourself up.
Right.
Throughout the department, I like it. I like to show up clean cut, dressed, and always smile.
Yeah.
Regardless what kind of day I have, regardless of who knows what the other person's having,
Right.
I might say good morning and the other person says, thank you, I needed that.
Right.
Or we don't know what kind of days they have.
Yeah.
So coming to work happy, coming to dressed, obviously you're not going to come dressed to impress, you're professional.
Right.
See it that way, dress that way, regardless of what rank you are.
Yeah. And there's a difference between like dressing professional and dressing like Jersey Shore, it's like, yeah, take care of yourself, but don't overdo it to the point you think you're going to a club.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's professional and there's unprofessional.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know certain people that are both in a sense.
Right.
So real quick, I want to touch on, people think as a counselor, you're not necessarily working the line. A lot of people say, oh, well, they're a counselor. They're not a correctional officer or they're not involved in incidents. And I think you could touch on that pretty well because I know you as a counselor, you're working sometimes right in a building,
Yeah. We are peace officers just like everybody else. Classification or not, you're a peace officer. You are to jet out your equipment in the morning and put it on your belt. You would never see me on the facility without a belt. If I'm working the facility, if I'm working as a correctional counselor, I'm a peace officer. You are to check your equipment, put it on, make sure you have your pepper spray, your cups, your baton, and depending on where you're at, if it's a level 4 and situations are going to require certain equipment that you check out, meaning OC grenades or CS. It just depends on you.
Right.
But you will wear your equipment and your belt.
Right.
You're still a peace officer. One day you're sitting down in your office and you're working up cases. Not normal day, nothing happened. Next thing you know, you got a full blown riot on the yard. Right. And it's your yard you're in, you go. You show up and you help out your fellow correctional officers.
Right.
And handle the situation, whatever you need to do. Where do you want? First thing I'm going to do is see the situation and hey, if it's a sergeant there, hey, he's in charge of the incident. Where do you need me?
Right.
What do I do?
I want to say I've seen you a couple of times too for code 3s and code 2s.
Yes, I have.
For our level 4 GP. And even these other yards we got now, sometimes they get pretty busy. So yeah, as a counselor, you guys respond. You guys go to block training. You guys are still peace officers. You guys carry the same equipment just like any other officer. And if needed, you guys are helping out too. I mean, I've seen counselors in the mix using pepper spray, using baton to deal with incidents, help out fellow officers. I mean, you guys are working, some of you in the building just like a regular officer. Mm-hmm. And I think people forget that, And I see a lot of newer officers that are scared to ask questions. They're like, well, what do they do all day? I said, well, what do you mean? Well, we have like the counselors, they just, they pop their head out and they do, ask a few questions or whatever, and they go back to work. And I didn't realize until I became a supervisor what you guys were doing. I knew what you were doing. And obviously this newer officer is still trying to figure out everybody's role. But what is that? And I know you can speak on that.
It depends. It depends where you're at. And what you do, some places are busy, some places you're isolated, and you're still working up cases.
Right.
But when something goes off, you respond. You respond and deal with help your partners out because everybody's watching. But going back to your question, if you're working up cases and you have so many cases to do throughout the week for committee that week or the following week. The incident happens. Let's go back to an incident. You're out there for code 2, code 3. You're out there 2-3 hours, whatnot, to assist on the incident. I got cases due tomorrow.
Right.
If I'm out there, I'm not getting my cases done. So if I'm not in front of the computer, I'm not getting my work done.
Right.
There's nobody going to come behind me or getting an order over to work up those cases. Those are my responsibility, my cases. So again, if we're not in front of the computer, we're not working up your cases.
Right.
Yes, sometimes you'll see us out there, getting some fresh air, walking around, talking to staff and see what's going on in the institution, giggling and getting a laugh or two, because being in front of the computer all day, that's pretty
that's draining.
Very draining. Your eyes hurt, from reading, from being on the monitor all day. You need a break.
Right.
You need a break here and there.
And some of the stuff you're dealing with, and, we won't get too much into it, but I mean, you're probably reading and looking up cases for different inmates that can be very, very hard to read, because some of these guys are in here for some very horrible things. How do you deal with reading, managing stuff with an individual and being professional about it? Because that's to some, I know some officers like, well, I could never do that. And it's just like, well, I think if you understood the role, you could, but how does, now you're a CC2 specialist, how do you deal with something like that?
Well, it goes back to the basics. Like I mentioned earlier about the out of class, you have to do the tryouts, read, learn, the job before you actually do it. But that goes back to our ethics that we were taught in the beginning in the academy. You have to separate your emotions from what you just read, what you just saw, to the inmate.
Right.
You can't treat them differently. They're human beings, and you can't make a determination, a recommendation for a committee to hurt or make the inmate's life worse.
Right.
That's not our job.
No.
Our job is totally different. So yeah, I'm able to block whatever I just read and be able to confront an inmate and talk to him about what's going to happen in committee. Yeah.
It seems like that's something that would be a constant battle in a way to deal with. But I'm sure you've done it 100 times, but I know you deal with it very well. Have you had newer counselors ask you, or like you've seen struggle with anything like that?
I have, and I give them advice. Hey, don't let him bug you. Don't let it upset you. We know what they did. We know how it caused a victim, but that's not our job.
Right.
Our job is to recommend committee what the outcome is going to be. Recommend where he's going to transfer to. What he has coming, what he doesn't have coming. What's going to benefit the inmate to rehabilitate himself.
That's good, man.
You have to learn how to keep your emotions under control.
Right. And I think, with any line of work you do in a prison, that's always something you need to keep in your head. It's like whether you're working the line and you're seeing and dealing with violent inmates or somebody that's causing issues, or you're a counselor reading these cases and working up caseloads with these guys, or you're a supervisor, dealing with incidents and reading stuff to them, dealing with them, trying to talk to these guys. It's always a challenge,
Always. Everything's a challenge. You just have to, everybody's individual. I might be okay with it. Somebody else might not be. Somebody might affect them.
Right.
And they either don't want, this ain't for me. We always see it. This ain't for me. I tried it. No, this ain't for me. I'm going a different direction. And, they eventually go into a sergeant, into a supervising role.
And you brought it up earlier. I mean, there's so many different avenues in corrections. So many.
I agree.
I don't even know how many there are off the top of my head. I mean, I feel like they've created more now.
Oh, there's more. It's growing.
Man.
It's growing. And I like I said earlier, do it. Take it. As the opportunity comes up, do it. Don't wait. Because if you wait, somebody else is doing it.
Right. And it gets me upset when I hear people are like, oh, I'll take the test next year or yeah, this and that. And I'm like, I get it. It's their career, it's their life. But I'm just like, man, I feel like that's a whole door that could have opened up a whole opportunity for you.
Earlier in their career.
And don't get me wrong, I've had plenty of doors slammed in my face and shut, and I could have just settled or whatever, but you got to always keep pushing, man.
I'm glad you said that, because that's one thing about me. Once I put my head into something I want to do, I'm going to get it.
Right.
It could be tomorrow, it could be in a month, it could be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Eventually, I'm going to get it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of good officers, too, that have tried to promote or they've done out of class and they didn't get where they wanted to be, or they interviewed and didn't get the spot. And it's like, that individual as a person, in my opinion, is a better supervisor than probably this other person, but maybe they just didn't interview well. Or whatever the case was, they had, something against, it wasn't their time or whatever. I was like, don't give up. Like, dude, that doesn't mean it's the end for you. It just means it's not your time. And I've had, people I looked up to that aren't around anymore. They'll look me dead in my eye and say, hey, Alex, it's not your time. Try again. And, you have to swallow it and you got to keep moving forward, because there's been a lot of times where I've been shut down and I could have stopped, but I took that advice. And, we brought up earlier, there's a lot of good supervisors and officers that we all looked up to and would kind of lead the way in a sense. They're not there anymore. Those officers aren't there anymore.
Yeah, those officers, those staff, they're gone. Those were our mentors. That's the ones we learned from. And it's our job now. It's our job now to teach the I don't want to say youngsters, because there's a variety of ages coming in new. We have to teach them.
Right.
We have to teach them the correct way, the right way, the way the department's going way. We can't just keep it to ourselves. The way I see it, Alex, is how many years I have in the department, where I'm at right now. We are the new Hold on. Let me pull my thought together. We are the mentors. We are the teachers.
No, you're right.
We're the instructors for the new officers that are coming in.
I think, a few years ago, there was still officers and supervisors, counselors, lieutenants. We didn't realize we're the mentors there.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, we're like, all right, cool, yeah, I should have thought of that. Or there was always somebody I can call and be like, hey, man, what do you think about this? Oh, Duran, I would do this, this, and that. Oh, no, don't let them tell you this because that's wrong. Those people aren't there. You know what I mean?
They're gone.
And we see it. We know, like, how come people aren't helping out? How come people aren't giving advice? And what it is those people aren't there. And now it's our turn to share the knowledge, and I know a lot of people always are asking questions, and your name's always brought up. Well, like, dude, just go ask Martinez.
Ask me.
Yeah.
Ask me. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Some people say I'm intimidated, but hey, at work I have my game face.
Right.
It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
But ask me. Don't be afraid. The question you don't ask, you're going to be like, what if? What ifs?
Yeah. I don't have that face. People look at me and they're like, hey, dude, you all right? You got to use the restroom. I'm like, that was my mean face, but whatever. I guess that didn't work for me.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our game face, and sometimes our upset face. But hey, we have to do a job. But let's get back to we're the mentors now.
Yeah.
Myself, we're gonna mentor. We're gonna teach. We're gonna start somebody else's career that
Right.
might be the next sergeant, the next lieutenant, the next captain, the next counselor,
Right.
the next chief, the next warden, the next secretary of CDCR.
Right.
We are it. The new officers coming in are looking at us. What can we do to help them? We're doing it already.
Right.
We go back to what I said earlier as well. You have to ask the correct questions to the correct people.
That's a big one right there. Asking the correct questions to the correct people. I see officers asking the wrong questions, or they're asking the right questions to the wrong people. And then they asked one person, got shut down, or didn't get any advice. And that's it. They stopped. It's like, no, man, you need to realize there's certain people that can help you. There's certain people you can learn from. It's not everybody, but you have to see who your mentors are. You have to see who's positive, who's trying to grow, and who you want to be like. There's a lot of people out there, but it's like, well, I want to be like this person. Well, why don't you ask them, where they're at, how they got there, and what they're doing? But a lot of people are kind of intimidated in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like about you, man. You're very approachable. I don't know the counseling background. That's you do very well. So a lot of people ask me, and I'll just say, Martinez is right there. You can ask him. And there's a lot of out-of-class counselors now that still tell me they'll reach out to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I like to teach. I just, something in me, if I learn it, regardless if I was an officer, something I learned as an officer, something I learned when I was in ISU, something I learned as a classification, I'm gonna pass the knowledge.
Yeah.
You ask for it, I'm gonna give it to you. If you're doing something wrong, and they might not want to do it
Right.
this way, I'm gonna give you the knowledge. But at the end of the day, you can't be me.
Right.
You can't beat me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you. I'll show you the way.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever I showed you, whatever you need, whatever you like, put it in your toolbox.
Right.
And create that toolbox. Keep filling that toolbox. You can't be me.
Right.
I'll teach you. I'll show you.
Yeah, you got to make your own.
You got to make your own style. Whatever works for you to do the job, you have to make your own out of your toolbox.
Man. And I know I think the counseling test is going to be coming up. There's going to be a lot of people taking the test, and then, a few weeks after that, people are going to be interviewing or putting in for this out of class, And we touched on a bunch of different benefits for counselors. I know, weekends and holidays, the hours, the pay. And in my opinion, I like the whole dress down. I think that's cool, Don't get me wrong, I love wearing a uniform, but I think that's cool how you can still look very professional and kind of like make your own attire and kind of mold it to you as an individual. So what are you doing now, right now in the department? Where are you at now?
Right now, I just took a out of class in. Here we go with out of class. I'm
Yeah.
always doing out of class, but I'm doing out of class in the grievance office. I'm learning that mission that CDCR has. That's a whole different.
It's a whole other line of work, it sounds like, yeah.
It's a lot of work, but I like a lot of work. It keeps me busy. Keeps me going. Let's go back to I worked level 1. I worked level 2s, level 3s, level 4s, max custody, and it's time. It's time to do something else outside that I'm comfortable with.
I like that.
I think I learned enough of that area, so now it's time to move somewhere else as in a grievance office, see what I can learn from there, and then I learn it and move on from there. Learn something else.
How long you been doing that?
I just started a few weeks ago.
So you're kind of like at that whole beginning stage.
Oh yeah, beginning, and somebody already told me, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "No, nothing." They went to the office and they saw me and like, "What's wrong?" And then my partner said it was, "That's his game face."
Oh, he's working.
I was working.
He's learning.
I was working. That's it. And again, it's something new. I'm not going to learn it right away, but I will learn it, and it's not going to be given to me. I have to study for it. I have to learn it,
Right.
and the studying and the learning. Obviously, the learning goes at home. So, excuse me. The learning, you learn it at work,
Right.
but to learn the policy, to why you're doing this, you have to do your own studying
Right.
at home.
Your own homework.
Your own homework.
Right.
It's not. Hey, this is how you do it, and this is A. This is for A. You do this. For B, you do this. For C, no. It's
Right.
not. You have to figure it out.
Okay.
You have to ask questions.
You got to put in that extra work.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't see that. They're like, oh, I'll just do this and that. And it's like, if you want to be somewhere that's higher up, that's going to benefit you, that's going to benefit your family, your whoever you're with, you got to put in the work.
You always have to put in the work.
It's not going to be
regardless.
easy.
It's not going to be given to you.
A lot of people look for the easy way out.
No.
That doesn't go very far.
It's a learning experience, and again, I like it. I've been there long enough, and I can see it. Well, okay, you know what? It's time. It's time to do something else, and do it. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Just hopefully you have knowledge enough to go where you need to go.
Right.
And if you don't ask, like you said earlier, a lot of people are afraid of asking. Just ask.
Yeah, I'm big on resources and like trying to network, and I like to put myself out there just because I feel like when I do, I learn more from different people and I learn what they have experience in or what they're good at and what they're not good at. And, maybe it can benefit me if I know this person's good at, something to do with different types of incidents. Maybe he has more experience in riots or controlled use of force. And I ask him a question or two and I'll get the answer, but you have to network. You have to be able to ask those questions and put yourself out there.
I agree 100% with the networking. Your role compared to mine in classification, I've worked with a lot of people and networked with a lot of people, a lot of counselors, I've had several different supervisors, and I've done classification of several of the missions that we have there at our prison. Network is big. If I don't know something, I'm going to ask. I don't know everything. And every day, regardless if you're a counselor, a sergeant, officer, so on and so on, you're learning every day something new. It doesn't matter how much time you got in the department, you will learn.
Right.
You're learning as you go. But the networking is big in classification because you have to deal with a lot of different scenarios that with staff, with inmates, supervisors, outside networking as well with other agencies that you have to contact. It just list goes on and on and on.
Right. And, I think all that legwork you put in, it benefits you as a counselor. It molds you into the counselor that you are. And, it's why they pay well. You know what I mean? It's not easy, I'm assuming. And I know it can be challenging, whether you're reading a file that is very difficult to read or whether you're just trying to understand what you're supposed to do as a counselor. The benefits are huge, I think. One of the biggest issues we have as a whole in the department is staffing and being held over. You guys are exempt from that, you know?
Yeah, we are exempt, but do you remember 2020, COVID and all that? We were
Yeah.
short staff and all that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
bad.
the department gave us opportunity to work overtime.
That's awesome.
So that was really nice. That was really nice. Overtime for counselors is rare.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it actually besides
No,
that.
it was rare, and obviously we weren't doing. They offered it, and of course, hey, you know what? Let me work some overtime. Like we weren't doing anything anyways.
Right.
Everything was locked down. And we just helped our own partners. Hey, where you want to work? And of course, I wasn't offered no the best jobs out of the basket, or the
Yeah.
you want to call it. They were the last ones called, and we have 303, 481 left, C yard,
The busy areas of the prison.
CTC and Unit C, our busy area, like I said. Okay, give me this one. I work Unit C as a counselor.
Yeah.
I work 481 left as a counselor. I worked on 3C as a counselor. Excuse me. Being a counselor as an officer,
Right.
I work several areas and I had no issues. And then just normal transition from a counselor. Okay, these 8 hours I was a counselor, now these other 8 I'm going to be
Yeah.
a peace officer, a correctional officer. You're doing everything that everybody else is doing.
It was-
And sure, inmates came up to me and they asked, "Hey, it's open line." No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right now we're doing this. We're not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go stop what I'm doing as a officer to go look at your files because
Right.
you're missing something. No.
And honestly, I thought that was really cool when we had counselors, lieutenants, and sergeants able to do officer overtime. I remember seeing we had an incident where we were going to do a controlled use of force, and the inmate was agitated, whatever, and they're doing overtime. We had a lieutenant, we had a counselor, and a sergeant all on the line. So it's like we had every individual that was able to talk to him from every side. He was upset about something to do with his classification. Cool, the counselor was there. And then we had the lieutenant to kind of oversee and can start prepping everything for the extraction. Then we had the sergeant there ready to do everything, plus the actual lieutenant and sergeant in the building. Long story short, that whole issue got resolved in an hour. And it's because we had all those people there with all these different experience and knowledge,
Well, you said it earlier. Networking.
Yeah.
That's all it was. All different classifications, all the different supervisors, all at once. Networking. Hey, this area. Go talk to them. And what did that do? Kept you from going forward with the extraction.
Yeah. Yeah.
From
100%.
extra paperwork.
Yeah.
From somebody getting hurt, from the inmate getting hurt, from, litigation.
And that was cool. I mean, doing all that, it was just so much easier. Like even newer officers when they were coming in around that time, they're like, well, how do I do this and do that? And they don't realize their partner's a lieutenant,
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, this is how we're going to do it. And this is what we're going to do. And if this happens, this is what we're going to do. Giving them just 100% direction, compared to somebody that would probably shine them off. People learned a lot during that time. And I know it was COVID, so there wasn't a lot of movement, but there was a lot of people that actually learned a lot that people don't really understand, That was a good time. And you're making counselor overtime, your pay, plus your overtime pay. You're making a lot of money doing that.
Yeah. It was good. Nice. It was good. Thank the department for giving us opportunity for that. But it goes back to, hey, this is what the officer is doing. You're working 2 to 10, or in a day off you're coming in. I'm like, it was a different feeling.
Right.
And you know what? I think I'm gonna stay as a counselor. This is a whole different. It's
Things have changed.
yeah, it's a whole different change. You always want to do something else besides an officer.
Right.
Officers being cool and a lot of respect for officers still in line, 20, 25 years still in the line. But if you have an opportunity to do it,
Right.
Counseling, do it. I've helped out and trained sergeants,
Yeah.
lieutenants
Yeah.
that want to do it out of class as a counselor. I helped them, and now they take advantage of that, and they're counselors now.
Keep working their way up.
Keep
yeah.
working their way up.
What issues are you seeing with newer officers?
I think we lost a generation of respect. Me, when I came in, I respected my elder, my supervisor, and now coming in, they're different. They're different. Their mentality is different. You have to actually sit them down and talk to them. Hey, that's not okay.
When I came in, you kind of just stayed in your lane. You did what you had to do, and you learned, and you took what you needed, and you kind of ran with it. But now, things are different. The generation's different. The way they were brought up is different.
I agree.
What can we do to help them?
We have to talk to them. We have to talk to them and teach them. Be those mentors. Be the big people. Yeah, regardless of what age they're coming in, be the big people. We know what's right. We know what's wrong.
Right.
Hey, you can't do that. Hey, yes, do this. Hey, keep
Right.
doing what you're doing. You're doing a good job.
Right.
Not all of them are coming like that, but it just takes one bad apple to, fest the rest.
Mm-hmm.
If we see good, let's make it. Acknowledge it, and tell them you're doing a good job. If you're doing a bad job, hey, let's address it. Let's not do that. Don't get in trouble. Don't lose your job. You did so much. You sacrificed so much to get to this point. Why lose it in one thing? If you're having, intrusive thoughts, that tell you to do this and you want to do this, but you're still doing the wrong thing and it's not policy. And then just say these words. Just say, not today, Satan. Don't let it take over you, because
Right.
you will lose your job. You will lose your family and your career.
And there's a lot of, being in prison's dark. There's a lot of evil in a sense, a lot of negativity. You got to stay positive, and you got to make the right decisions and the right choices. And I know it's hard. There's a lot of places where we work where, officers with 5 years, they are the seasoned officers.
I agree.
And they need to understand, like, they're the ones that need to be making these decisions when they're dealing with newer staff and telling them, hey, man, don't do that. That's wrong. We need to do it like this. And they know it. They know what's right from wrong, but they're like, oh, well, it is what it is. I think they need to understand that they're at that point in their career where they need to make that call. You know what I mean? They're almost a mentor in a sense in that area,
No, they are mentors. You're correct on that. They just need to step up. Step up and see the wrong and do something about it. See something, say something. They're going to save your own job. Let's go scenario. I'm not going to mention names, but you see something was done, you got to report it.
Right.
If you don't report it, we can't hide it.
Right.
It's you're being watched.
Mm-hmm.
Cameras everywhere. So do the right thing.
Right.
Because it's going to come to light.
I see people, they're like, now that I'm in the supervisor role, they're like, hey, Durant, I messed up. Well, there's no reason to hide it. There's no reason to act like you didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's address it. We're not perfect. We're not perfect as a whole. We make mistakes. We are human. But what are we doing to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to tell these guys, I said, hey, what did you do wrong, Durant? I did this, this, and that. Okay, cool. Let's write it down. Let's acknowledge it. And then we'll shoot it up to our AW and we'll go from there. Mm-hmm. Is there going to be consequences?
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Absolutely.
But, we should take, responsibility of our own actions.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Accountability is the main thing. You said you did something wrong. Hey, let's address it. Let's report it and go from there. Consequences will come, but at least you don't lose your job, though.
100%. And people nowadays, they're so scared because, I have a camera, I'm going to lose my job, this and that. No, I don't think people see the benefits of a camera, because I've seen the other side to where a camera has stopped, allegations or incidents because the inmate said this and that, and camera proves that never happened, So there are two sides to it. And just because we're wearing a camera doesn't mean we can't do our job. And people are scared of that. And that's why I really hone on no policy, no conduct, know your procedures, know your area. And when you do that, in a sense, you don't really have to second guess yourself,
I agree. I agree on those cameras. To me, cameras are great. We as a counselors, we don't have to wear one, but I'm not worried about it. Reason why? From my office to podium with officers with cameras, I'm the same person.
Right.
I could they could be having a great conversation for whatever reason, and if they want to, they could change it, and I'm not going to hear it.
Right.
I could be having a full conversation in my office on the phone or with somebody, interviewing somebody, and somebody could come in my office with a camera. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to change my conversation. Why? Because I'm professional at work.
Right.
There's no need to change the conversation. There's no need to be saying things I don't want to be saying.
Right.
And if I do, I'll take accountability, and I own those words and take full responsibility for them.
Right. And I had an officer. He said, "Hey, Dren, I messed up. We reviewed footage in a sense and saw what he did wrong. We addressed it." And this kid's thinking, "I'm gonna get fired." It got real bad. But we shot it all the way up, and the warden said this, and we dealt with it, and he was reprimanded, and we were both happy because it's like, okay, that's it. Yeah, that's it, man. Like, you acknowledged it. You did something wrong. We're not lying about it. You're being upfront with it, and it was addressed. And I think that's really what it comes down to is if you make a mistake, address it and fix it, and, provide training so that way we can show that you're going to learn from it. And people don't see that with the cameras. They just see like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. No, you're not going to get in trouble. You're doing your job. You're working your 816. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. 100% accountability and say you did it. Say it happened and when, where, and why, and telling yourself it's okay. It's normal. It's okay. Now, the opposite. If it comes up by grievance, by office OIA, or OIG, and it comes out to that level, and you never addressed it, you never said anything about it, then those are different consequences.
Right.
When you should have done it in the first place.
Right.
The warden is going to have a different decision when that comes up.
And that's one of the things that we need to look at as a whole. When we sign into work, we're acknowledging we're going to be professional. There's no reason to try to hide anything after that.
No.
A lot of officers don't see the side of looking at what the camera actually sees, so that's why I always harp on, reviewing your footage after an incident so you can see what's going on. But there's no reason to try to hide anything. You can't, whether, you thought you could or you couldn't. You can't. I don't know how many cameras there are in a prison, but you can't whether you want to. So if you try and you're going to risk losing your career, it's not worth it. It is not worth it.
No, it's not. Especially, like we said earlier, everything you sacrificed to get to this point. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, 5 years. You could be a veteran, 20, 25 years plus. You do something wrong in the department, you're going to get fired.
Right.
And you have to deal with consequences. And then again, you lose your career, your family, your boat, your car, your truck, you lose everything.
Right. 16, 17 years in the department. I'm assuming you saw both sides of the table. I'm assuming you've seen people that aren't with the department anymore, How do you separate yourself from that? Not being negative, not doing the right thing, the wrong things.
You know what? Everybody copes differently. It goes back to ethics, your values, your beliefs. I'll stay with you. I do a lot of things outside of work that keep me busy mentally and physically. Going to the gym is one thing I do. I like to work out. I like to get these lungs going up again. Because it's been so long. And also. I coach a soccer team. I'm an assistant coach for a travel soccer team. A lot of people don't know this, but I do a lot of fundraisers. Attend a lot of fundraisers. People need me, or a certain, group events. I do a lot of fundraising. And what do I do at the fundraising? I barbecue. I cook. That's one thing I love. That's one of my hobbies. I barbecue.
Right.
I like to cook. Have a barbecue team, and we compete.
What is your team called? Because I didn't know you cooked until one day I was sitting in control with Omar, and I was tired, and he said, "Hey, Dren, you want some ribs?" I was like, "Well, hell yeah, I want some ribs. Like, how much are they?" He's, "Oh no, Marty made them." I didn't know who he was talking about, but I just remember trying them. I'm like, "Dude, where'd you buy these?" I just bomb as fuck. He said, no, he made these, man, and we're just warming them up. You should have tried them fresh. And that's when I was like, oh shit, that's the counselor. And then they told me that you have your own barbecue team and you guys compete. What is that called, man?
You know, a barbecue team. It started in 2017. It's called the Smoking Barbecue. We just compete here locally wherever they invite us. And I smoke pork ribs. You know, been doing it for a few years now. Obviously, the first year we did not do good. You know, it was the first time, and we didn't give up.
That's cool right there. So you
we
guys didn't do
up.
good the first time?
We didn't do good.
You probably thought everything was down.
Yeah, I thought, you know what, I learned how to do this.
Yeah.
And let's go out there and compete. Let's do this. Again, it was a fundraiser, you know. And yeah, we didn't do too good. But at the end of the day, we ate, we presented, and we were happy.
Yeah.
You know, let's try again next year.
Yeah.
And next year. And it wasn't until, again, 2017. It wasn't until 2023 when we actually started winning.
No shit.
Yeah. You know, we got first place, then a couple areas, second place, then third place. And then people's favorite, you know, trophies started coming in. And it starts from the bottom all the way to 2023. It's a big learning experience, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I hope to continue, you know, with my barbecue team and compete every year.
You guys competing for anything coming up?
There's some events coming up here locally. I believe our first one is either Exeter or Tulare.
Okay.
March or April. Those are two new ones that we started last year. The first time in Exeter, that was the first time ever in 2023. And, you know, I tasted the ribs when they were ready to be turned into the judges, and I didn't think they were that good. And, you know, when judges did their announcement, they said third place, second place, and announced first place for my team. I looked at my teammates and looked at each other. I'm like, hey, that's us.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So in Exeter, we took first place, and I was real happy with that.
What's the name of it?
The Smoking Barbecue.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. You guys do that every few months or just?
Every couple times a year. We first started with one event a year. Now we're up to 4 events. There's other events out there, but again, I don't have time. Our teammates don't have time.
Yeah.
You know, we still have family. We still have other things we have to do. And,
right.
and those competitions come every weekend. I don't have time for that.
Shoot.
Again, you know.
How many other people on the team?
On the team, there's 4 of us.
That's cool.
There's 4 of us on the team. You know, my brother, Omar, and a new teammate, name is Alex. Yeah, I like it.
You stay busy then.
I stay busy. I stay busy. That's how I keep work and my hobbies separate.
Yeah.
You know, my home life separate. And you have to find a way to separate work at work, home at home.
Yeah.
You can't have both. You can't have home at work and work at home. You can't. It's going to create friction with your loved ones, and you have to find things you like and hobbies you want to do and just jump on them, do them.
That's just my opinion, but I feel like having like a counseling position, it makes it easier to plan like your routine, knowing you can be off 3 days a week, knowing the weekend's off. Like it's probably nice to be able to be like, because of where I'm at, I know I'm going to be out this weekend, so we can plan this and that. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I agree. You know, again, it goes back to being off on the weekends. You can plan trips, day trips, or you could go on vacation for a couple of days, go to the country, go out of state, and have fun, make memories with the family. It's not always about work.
No, it can't always be about work. I know there's like certain times it's okay to talk about work, and I realize that's when we need to talk about work because one of my partners or somebody is struggling with something that happened at work, and they don't know how to cope with it. So I feel like at those times, let's talk about it. Let's get it out of your chest, your system. Hobbies is a big deal. I know there's a lot of people that don't have hobbies or they're not doing their hobbies anymore. So, you know, you're coaching soccer, you have your barbecue team, and then obviously you have your family. That's a lot, you know.
Yeah. You know what? It's one thing I forgot to mention. I just joined a couple of adult leagues, which is, you know, I'm also playing soccer. I'm out there running around. Sure. I'm playing softball and the flag football. Yeah, so I keep myself busy.
That's a lot. Are you working 5 days?
5 days. 5 days a week, 8 hours. You know, so all that throughout the week on the weekends, yeah, you're already busy. Do I do it by myself? No, we always had. I'll have my family there as well.
Right. That's good, man.
So that's number one. You to move forward to in this career, you need people around you. You need your family.
Right.
You need your friends.
You need support.
You need support. Exactly.
And that's cool. It's like, you have your guys you barbecue with, that's your team, and, certain people at work that you talk to, you hang out with. And then, you're playing your sports and you're also coaching, which I like because it's like, it shows your leadership side too.
Mm-hmm.
And then your family, that's a lot of balance, man. 17 years in the department, seeing how the prison system was to where it's at now, and being able to adjust, and being able to just go with the flow. I think that's something that officers are struggling with, and they need to learn it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
No, I agree 100%. You have a choice. At the end of the day, you have a choice. You're either going to go home and drink and smoke and do things that are going to hurt you in the long run, or you're going to go home and do your hobbies.
Yeah.
Spend time with your family, go to the gym, eat healthy, stay away from negativity, stay away from even people. If you have to close out people that are always negative, we all know who they are. Keep them away.
Yeah.
It's cool and everything. Your friends at work or your friends outside of work, but that's it. Doesn't mean you're going to go home and have a beer with them. Doesn't mean that you're going to go home and have dinner with them.
Right.
Nah, keep that negativity away.
Right.
Because that will put you down. For some reason, you start learning that it's okay. That's okay. No.
Right.
Get rid of that.
And I've seen people, they'll struggle with different issues, or like you said, they'll go home and they start drinking or just doing the wrong things. And, once or twice turns into every other day. And then all of a sudden you realize you have a problem. And knowing how to separate yourself from, these are the people I should be hanging out with, these are the people I want to be like, to separating yourself from the people that it's just going to put you in a dead end road. It's a negative energy. Telling yourself, I don't need to hang out with these people because of this, or I don't want to do that because of this. You got to acknowledge it. And sometimes it's hard. I've seen people, hey, I don't want to do all that. Oh man, come on, you're being dumb, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Boundaries. You got to set your boundaries, and don't be scared. Don't be afraid to put them out there. If you don't like something, tell them. If you don't want to hang out with people, or you do want to hang out with people, but hey, let's not do this. I like you, but let's not do this.
Right.
It's all going to affect you at the end of the day.
Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have.
At work,
Yes, I have. Yes, hey, a couple experiences. Not going to say names or anything like that, but hey, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that. And I heard that it was spoken bad about that. Hey, he didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do it because it was wrong. You got to set those boundaries from the beginning. That's going to get you in trouble. That's going to get me in trouble. Let's not do that.
Right.
And yeah, there's been respect ever since.
And I've seen people do that, where they almost look down on you or talk shit about you in a way because you made a decision, and they're like, oh, so-and-so's weak, or oh, so-and-so, he's whatever. No, man, so-and-so is probably smarter than everybody here because he was the only one that fucking was able to acknowledge that, hey, this is wrong, and it takes a big person to do that. You know what I mean? That's hard. And doing that and challenging yourself to step up and do that when you're around a bunch of people that don't want to do that, you got to kind of be the alpha there. That's hard to do.
Yes, it is. Especially if, they have more time and are older than you, and you like, should I tell them? Should I not? No, do it. Do it. You're going to save your job. You're going to save your family. You're going to save whatever hobbies you have at home. You're going to be able to keep them.
Right. And it comes down to, he ain't paying my bills.
Exactly. That paycheck. Got to protect that paycheck.
He ain't, putting a roof over my kid's head. So you dealt with that.
Oh, yeah. Throughout my career. But, I gained that respect from everybody. I don't do it.
And look where you're at now. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's paid off. Obviously, it's gotten to where you're at, I know people in the department that are like newer officers or even some seasoned officers, they're struggling with that now. Seeing right from wrong, or not being able to make a decision because they're just comfortable. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they feel like, well, I guess it's not that bad because so-and-so's doing it. When you need to probably acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be some bad apples giving you bad advice.
Right.
Just put those in the trash bin and keep the good stuff in your toolbox and grow from there.
If you had an officer with 2.5 years in the department, what advice would you give them right now?
Do the right thing. Do the right thing and keep your job. Read Title 15, learn it. That's our job.
Mm-hmm.
That tells us what to do, what we can't do. Respect each other, take accountability, and go home to your family. Don't shortcut anything. You shortcut certain things here and there, you're gonna get hurt, or you're gonna get somebody else hurt. Then you're gonna have to answer to it. If you want to move up in the department, if you need units, you need to go back to school. Do it. Don't wait. If you wait, somebody else will do it. Somebody else is already ahead of you. Somebody else, hey, do it. Challenge yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared to take the next step. Just do it.
But there's also officers, with 10 years, 12 years, that kind of plateaued. What if they wanted to go into the counseling role? They have a lot of experience as an officer. Maybe they do need schooling. Like, what advice would you give somebody like that?
Well, if you need school, go back to school. All you need is 60 units. That's all you need.
You could do it all online.
You could do it all online. Now after COVID, everything is through Zoom. Most of the classes is through Zoom. Just get your basic units done and do out of class. Apply for the job and interview and go from there.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you have 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. You want to do it, do it. It's a whole different view as being an officer. It's mission after mission after mission. You like it, trust me. You'll like it. You see the whole different aspect of what counselors actually do.
That's what I was just going to ask you. So do you like what you do?
I love it. I love what I do. Would I keep doing it? Yes, I would.
Where do you see yourself in a few years?
In a few years, wow. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get this correctional counselor supervisor. Then who knows from there? A CC3 or a captain.
Man.
Or AW. It's just the opening doors for upper mobility.
That's what it's all about.
And not only do you have the peace officer point of view, but now you have classification point of view, and now you're overseeing everything. It's just the door's open.
Yeah, and I think when officers look at you as a captain or AW or a CC3 and they know your background is like all of this, it's just so much more respect.
Yeah.
Because look at all the stuff you've done, and then people that are barely starting their career and they see you where you're at and they see all the things you went through, it just shows them like, I got to put one foot in front of the other.
That's it.
And I got to put in some work.
Mm-hmm.
And it ain't going to be easy.
No.
Martinez, it's been a pleasure having you on Corrections Unlocked. Thank you for sharing your story with us, all of your experience and your knowledge. If there are any questions you guys have about Corrections Unlocked or topics you would like to hear discussed, reach out to correctionsunlocked@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.